during that period of time. Actually, had quite a bit of tax still left in it. But Scott Binns,
It's the clock. The 12 dings.
All we have to do to get John to stop talking is have a clock ding? Shoot. I would have taken that a long time ago. Ding! Ding!
oh, this is the wrong flag. This one. This is your second one for the night.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode 13 of season 3, lucky number 13, as we cruise on through the racing summer with myself, Mason, Mr. Jessup Pelkey, and John Breckel for the lineup. This week, we are missing our fourth member, Miss Becca Pelkey, who is a little tired from the day's activities and is getting ready for a busy weekend of racing.
Well, she has officially, race fans and drivers, lost her tire. She is loose wheel here on this episode.
Indeed. So we hope that she's able to make it out for the next race with us on the Track Packers podcast. In the meantime, we got to thank our presenting sponsor, Hitch Harness, and Tyler Hall out of Fertile, Minnesota. He's been active in racing this summer with an IMCA Modified and now a Soda Modified to add to his 2024 racing season. So nice to see him out on the track. Be sure to go over to the website hitchharness.com and check out all your needs if you own receiver hitches. It's a very safe and efficient product. And check out the styles. You can pick a style that choose of your liking, whether it's one or double. So check that out along with the racing products, pull bar brackets, and chassis dollies. And so be sure, hitchharness.com, check out all the products on there. And thank you so much, Tyler, for supporting us on the podcast. The lineup, if I remember correctly, with Becca, well, Becca was actually going to be at the rear of the field anyway. Jessup Pelkey's on the pole, followed by John and myself. So, Jessup, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Mason. All things considered, we're leading this pack to another action-packed show, and we're hoping to stay on the pole for the whole night.
Well, we haven't had too many cautions this year, so if the trends continue, it'll probably stay that way. Uh-oh. With John Breckel at the ready to throw the caution flag, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm keeping this close because I'm getting that full spot back. So, but no, I'm doing very, very, very good. We had a busy week of racing last week, and we're going to have even a busier week of racing this week. So I am excited and ready to go for tonight's episode.
Yeah, last week was busy. I was exhausted on Sunday night, and I'm now recovered, ready to go on an even busier weekend of racing. So kind of squeezing in the podcast in between all the chaos and everything going on. We appreciate the support so much from all you listeners and fans that watch our podcast. Be sure, if you're not following the Facebook page, to follow the Track Packers podcast. Give us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify so that one day Jessup can read a review live on the show. With that, I think we'll get right into it because we have a lot to cover with the waving or drop of the green flag to start episode 13 and get right into who or what are we repping. Jessup, start us off.
Well, I just quickly grabbed something tonight, so I got my official shirt from Jamestown. Because you all must respect my authority. I'm just kidding. I don't know. It was the top shirt I had, and I had fun wearing it. And John, what is your question?
Oh no, I have a caution.
Why?
The caution is because you think you have authority.
I wield just minimal enough power to make a decision every now and then.
I say he has waved the black flag this year.
Yeah.
This is true. Once.
So with that, that is a caution on John. John finds himself on the back.
I'm so disappointed.
In yourself.
Knowing you.
Well, cool shirt. That's a nice official looking shirt.
Yeah, it's something different, a little fun.
It makes your receding hairline look better.
Oh, John, I learned from the best.
I have nothing to contribute to this argument or discussion here.
Mhm.
Anyways, I think have they upgraded to like something different color wise for their official shirts? I feel like they're due for like a revamp of their uniforms.
I don't know. These were in the packages, and they tossed
They
me
were new
one, and
this
they're
year.
like, "Do you want one?" I'm like, "Okay."
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think IMCA sent those out this year to every single IMCA sanctioned track, because I know at Dacotah Speedway we got a package of shirts this year too. So
Yeah,
I think the IMCA group got together and they sent the shirts out, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
they're always sharp looking. So
They
yeah,
are, yep.
this is my second one. I think I have, and I don't know.
They
look
are
nice.
they are sharp. I mean,
I
I
will
will say
say,
I like the color combination, and if you touch them in the right spot, you might get, pricked.
okay. Anyways, I will say the Super National ones look really, really sharp.
You guys didn't even get the joke. Oh my goodness.
No,
The shirt is sharp. If you touch it in the right spot, you'll get a prick.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
you know what? Just because I have power, John. That's your second. You're going to the pit. That's a horrible joke. John will be
here
starting
I have
third
to.
next
Well,
week.
I'm helping Jessup with some dad jokes. So, he needs some of those upcoming
I'm
here pretty
sorry, the
quick.
black flag has been waved, John. Authority has spoken.
So,
John's got a point here because some of your jokes are reaches, Jessup.
Really?
Oh yeah.
this is true. This is very true.
Well, okay. Well, let's try this joke on for size. This may get cut from the show, but it's funny in my opinion.
This is definitely getting cut from the show.
That is definitely not making the final cut. Well, as we transition out of our carnage that we've had early on in this episode, I will move to John Breckel for who or what are we repping.
Well, I decided to go retro because it's retro week over in Jamestown for the fair races.
Oh,
They're
should I
racing
put
on
my
a
white
Wednesday
pants
night.
on?
So, guess what? I decided to go a little bit. I'm going to go a little bit older tomorrow because we're taping on a Tuesday. But I went with the 2007 Stock Car Stampede shirt from Jamestown that has the 2006 winners on it. We did go through these last season a little bit earlier, or maybe even season one. I wanted to wear another retro shirt, so I put this one back on. So, however, 2006 was a very nice stock car stampede over in Jamestown. The Gray Ghost Chad Hossauer won in his bomber. Dave Reuter won in his street stock. Dave Moss won in his Wissota super stock. In the Wissota Midwest Mods, it was Travis Sauer. Jeff Provenzino won over there in his late model. And who can tell me who won the modifieds?
They were still with soda modifies at that point.
They were, and you guys, if you want like a little cheat sheet of this too, so the Western Wanderer was there that year.
No, I'm
I
not
was actually looking up his site here just now, but for a different reason. I'm gonna guess Hank Berry.
I don't have a guess. I don't know.
Oh, you guys just don't have a guess. Well,
Can we get some
I'll
hints?
I'll let you guys research it a little bit, and we'll come back towards the end of the episode.
Okay.
I'm good. Who
All
won?
No, you get to research.
Well, I'll go through my gear real quick. So for the hat, repping Trent Greger, who finally made an appearance from the first time since January this season in his IMCA stock car. Top 5 finish at West Fargo this last Friday, so good run for Trent. For the koozie, I have a koozie of Calvin Iverson out of Oliva, Wisconsin, 27X. He still races, not a ton. I believe it's more USRA, USMTS modified these days. So get to see him once or twice a year. Who knows what his plans are for the rest of the summer. I'm also, for the shirt, going retro, going older than John's shirt, though. I'm going with a Donnie Schatz shirt. This is
More
from what I
spin,
read on the
Mason.
back,
More spin. Keep spinning.
2001.
Keep spinning. More.
I can't.
More.
I'm hooked up.
You can spin. Just turn your feet.
Yeah. Easier said than done. But yeah,
Usually
2001.
you just lift one foot up and spin.
Okay. 2001 Donnie Schatz shirt. This is not the shirt I'm going to be repping for Retro Night at the Jamestown Speedway, but in lieu of that, wanted to rep one of the older shirts I have. This is actually a small and actually fits really nicely. So, works out well. That is who and what we are repping for episode 13. Jessup, do you have anything ready for the Hot Sauce Hot Memory Rewind?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, give a shout out to our friend Issac Hot Sauce Sondrol. Very active racing right now in the 2024 season. Had a little bit of a extra work to do on Sunday to get back through the field, but ended up with a nice solid finish out of that coming from the back. And so be sure, as the Dakota Classic Modified Tour is coming up soon, be sure to get down to the Sondrol Snack Shack. They already have some goodies in the works and prepared for that week of racing. And so be sure to stop down in the Sondrol pit area and get to know Isaac. And thank you so much, sir, for supporting us on the Track Packers. Go ahead, Jessup.
Well, we know the rules. John and Mason have to correctly identify 3 photos and the year of the photos. They need to identify the driver and the chassis and which track they're at.
What? Hang on.
I'm not identifying which track they're at.
All right. Well, how about we just go with? How about we go with drivers
and the chassis
year?
either?
How about
that would be a better option.
Year? John,
I want you actually, race fans and podcast listeners and everything else. We should really have Jessup be the one that gets quizzed on the chassis.
I mean, I could call a couple of these people and they would tell me.
No. You have to do it live. Like, you have to actually physically identify them now.
It's a little late to call them at this point of the night, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
See?
All right, you ready, John?
I'm ready.
Ready for number 1. Here it comes.
That is Pat Dorr.
That is correct. What year?
Well, here's a question. Are they all the same year?
Yes, they are all the same year.
Well, we're going to go through all of them then, and I'll guess the year.
Okay, that's fine. Mason, any thoughts of year?
I'm thinking like 2000 to 2002 in that range right now.
Okay. You ready for the second one?
We're ready.
Here we go.
That's Rick. I forgot his last name. Somebody help me. It starts with an E.
Eggersdorf?
It is Rich Eggersdorf, but I will give you credit. Now we have seen 2.
I'm still thinking around that range.
You're thinking, when was that, Mason?
Somewhere in the 2000 to 2002.
Okay, and coming out to our last one.
Let's see.
Oh.
All right, I'm going to give you a hint here. This is a late model legend for the Midwest.
Don O'Neill?
For the Midwest.
Oh, sorry.
You have met this person.
Oh, what's his butt? Leon Plank?
Yes.
There.
That is Leon Plank. Very good.
Mason, I'm glad you got that. I was trying to think. I was like, I can see his face, but I can't think of his name.
Right.
Now, the big question, what is the year? Mason's thinking early 2000s. John.
No, I'm going earlier than that. I am going to say, based on the way the late models looked in those pictures, it's got to be right around 1996.
All right. That a boy, John. 1996. Our 3 drivers, all for the Midwest. Very recognizable and many would consider legendary names of Pat Dorr, Rich Eggersdorf, and Leon Plank.
I didn't totally. I sort of recognized the Eggersdorf one just because I was at his house and saw all the pictures in his basement.
Yep.
That's about the only one I kind of recognized. Nice.
Yeah, I recognized him from a lot of the old All the Dirt magazines, and I have a lot of the old like Whistled 100 books. So a lot of times they would have Whistled's recaps in there. They would have the Western and a few pages. They'd have the Whistled 100 and a few pages, and Rich was in there quite a bit.
Yep, and when we do these, I try to pick photos that I feel you guys would have at least a chance of being recognizing versus picking the very obscure ones where John would have to go to the Western Wanderer to take a look and find.
Oh, I go there anyhow.
But very impressive this week.
Speaking of like going back a little bit, so I have a guess on the 2006 mod winner, John. Was it Scott Danziason?
No.
Don
Dang
Ice.
it. Okay.
I'll give you guys I'll give you guys a hint. He's obviously a legend. He's won multiple national championships in
Okay.
both divisions that he races.
Dave Moss.
Well, yeah, Dave won in the Super Cup.
I'm looking through the mods right now from Jamestown, and I haven't come across one yet. Besides Scott Danziason, but I don't think he's a national champion.
You were correct on that.
Where's he from? North Dakota or Minnesota?
Wait,
He's not from either one of those states.
South Dakota or Canada? It's gotta be South Dakota.
I don't see a Kent Arment in this thing, but
Who is it, John?
It is Kent Arment.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Mhm. I have not seen his number come across the Western Wanderer page I'm looking at. Alrighty. Cool. Well, that is our hot sauce, hot memory rewind for this week. And we will move on into the track packer report, which is kind of hefty. This next week's going to be even heftier. Tuesday night at McLean County Speedway, Jessup and John got to take that in. I'll start with Jessup. What was your overall takeaways from Tuesday night as it was the start of the Tougher Than Dirt Tour?
Well, the start after last year's adventure, this has been a race I've circled on my calendar, and I have been excited to watch because you never know what you're going to see, and it's usually mass calamity and chaos. And I don't really ever wish for any races to be chaotic, but this one I anticipate just pure pandemonium, and I am usually like overly excited to watch it. And it was what I thought it was.
Definitely chaotic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was very entertaining the whole entire night that we were there.
John, what were your takeaways from?
It was a fun night overall. It got to be a long night though, because Clay had a lot of cars. They had 92 cars total for the night. And then the features themselves, they had quite a few beating and banging / close racing / just a lot of long features, just from a time frame perspective. So no, but overall it was a fun night. We started with a stock car division, and stock cars put on a show. So, and one of the old-time drivers, Mason, that is making his return back to racing this year.
Mhm.
So Will Manajovic ended up winning that feature event over Joe and Boyce. So we had two legends that were racing right up front during that feature event. Tough break for Adam Goth. He rolled his stock car over in turns 1 and 2. He was okay. And I know he'll have the stock car back out here before you know it as well, but never fun when you see drivers roll. So that was the start of the night. Then we moved into the legends, and the legends feature had some very entertaining racing because the track had widened out from what it had done in the heat races. It was really good in the heats, and in the consies it got wider, and then the features, the moisture started coming up because they had rain in the morning over in Underwood, and the high side became quite dominant. And we know in the legends when the high side comes dominant, Preston Martin goes to the front, and Preston did. So Preston took the lead. he was pretty dominant in that feature event. There was a great battle behind him with plenty of drivers in the mix from second through about 10th. However, Preston got together with Ivan Saylor. Ivan actually was in front of him as a lap car hit kind of the rut that was in the middle of turns 1 and 2 and actually went up into Preston. They got together, so that whole complexion of that feature almost changed, but Preston was able to hold on for the win of night 1 of the Legendary Tour. 40 legends checked in, so very good car count on that too. Then we moved into the sport mods. The sport mods were super entertaining from a feature perspective too, because with the way the track had widened out, they could use the bottom and they could use the top. So it was kind of an interesting feature to watch because the bottom was good for several laps of that feature, then the top was good for several laps of the feature. Then it kind of went back down to the bottom, and then it ended back on the top. So it's very entertaining to watch. You had your normal players up front. You had Robbie Roselli, who was on a 3-race win streak going into the Tougher Than Dirt Tour, as well as Darren Medler and Gabe DeShaw. And, those drivers, we knew they were going to be tough as part of the Tougher Than Dirt Tour for sure. And it was Roselli that ended up taking the night 1 win. So congratulations to him as he picked up the opening night for the Tougher Than Dirt Tour. Then we moved into the hobbies, which Jessup and I were very excited for because the hobby stock main event is always entertaining during the Tougher Than Dirt. And up in Underwood, it did not disappoint. You had Connor Hansen and Kyler Satrin that were pretty much kind of the two drivers that were battling up front for majority of that feature event. However, you had some big shoes behind him coming up to the front of the field, and that was Morgan Olstead. And Morgan was pretty deep in the field, and they had kind of a longer green flag stretch towards the end of that race, and he tracked them down. He was over half a straightaway behind, and in the matter of only a couple laps, he caught that lead duo of Satrin and Hansen. Hansen was on the high side, and Kyler was slowly working the bottom and getting ahead of him. When they took the white flag, they were side by side. Kyler had the better run down the back straightaway. Morgan tried to stick his nose in there, unfortunately made contact with Connor, and Connor spun. And that ended Morgan's kind of charge tonight as he got charged with the caution and went tail end in the finishing order. But besides that, though, Kyler picked up night 1 win, and it was a very entertaining and just kind of a fun night over at the McLean County Speedway in Underwood.
Yeah, first of a grueling 6 straight nights for the Tougher Than Dirt Tour and first night of the Legendary Tour. So definitely a great showing of cars there at Underwood. I'm sure the pits was packed with people, and I'm assuming the stands were packed as well.
Stands were pretty full. Pits were kind of interesting though because it had rained, quite a bit. So the pits themselves were kind of spread out. So where usually people park over there in the corner when you kind of drive in, you pretty much drive off to the side. Well, they actually lined it up with haulers. So haulers were across that whole area out there. And then they had actually roped off a section of the pits because it was just like a swamp.
Gotcha. Kind of reminds me of when I went to the Cole County Classic a few years back. I think it was like the day after this Jamestown Stampede, and like the haulers were basically out to the road. So
yep.
That's a good problem to have, where they're having to figure out places to put haulers and cars. And so good for the McLean County Speedway and good for the start of the Tougher Than Dirt Tour and Legendary Tour to get things kicked off. Well, we managed to skip a day in the recap for this week, and we'll go to Thursday. I went down to the KRA Speedway in Wilmer. It was the first of a 4-night swing for the Structural Buildings Minnesota Late Model Challenge Series, and so grueling weekend on tap for them. They were running all the regular classes minus the modifieds, which they did to kind of preface the KRA Speedway in Wilmer. So they have like 6-7 kart classes each Thursday, and they also have a curfew since the track's right in the middle of the city. So with the way the Challenge Series format works with like qualifying and getting those heats and everything in, getting all those races done before the curfew was going to be a tall order. So all the races did not get, or A-mains did not get completed for the night. They got 4 out of the classes features in the books. And so I'll go through the recap here, starting with the pure stocks. Just a handful of pure stocks, and Colton Schuler in the 16A ended up being the winner. That won't be the last time I say his name for the weekend. The Wissota Street stocks were on tap second, which very solid field of 22 street stocks on a Thursday night, so good representation there. Great battle up front between Ty Agan, Zach Flickinger, and Justin Vogel. Justin Vogel made the race-winning pass on Zach Flickinger with just a few laps to go to get his first win of the 2024 season. So a little bit of a dry spell for Justin Vogel to start the season off, but now he got that first win out of the way for the year, and we'll see what he can do for the rest of the year. Midwest Modifieds were on tap as well. Great battle towards the end again between Tim Canton, Jason Vetraba in the 38 JV, and Blake Adams, who's kind of making like a little bit of a presence for national points early on in the season. And Jason held control throughout the entire race. Would have been interesting to see with a couple more laps to see if Blake Adams, he was coming from mid-pack, and maybe a couple more laps might have had something to say about that win. But Jason, who's been very good on the KRA Speedway over the last couple of years, got another feature win on the year in the Midwest Modifieds. And the late models, who are the main card on tap, 26 late models in attendance. So a very good, very solid field of late models for that race. 40 laps around KRA Speedway, which KRA Speedway is like an egg shape. So like the track itself, the dominant groove was on the top. So 1 and 2 are kind of like a normal looking corner, but 3 and 4 get pretty tight. So it's like you could hit your marks on one end, but you have to be very precise in like 3 and 4, for instance. And so very interesting to see which drivers kind of nailed it each lap and which ones kind of made a mistake here or there. But shout out to a guy who's a rookie in the late models. Corey Crapster led a bunch of laps early and was holding off the likes of Cole Searing and Tyler Peterson throughout several restarts, even maneuvering through lap traffic pretty well. Took a little bit of a slip up in 3 and 4 and in the middle of lap traffic for Cole Searing to get by. And that ended up giving the win to Cole Searing in the 10 to start off a really good weekend for him. Crapster did hang on for second. Matt Gilbertson in the 23 was third. Riley Michelson fourth, and Tyler Peterson ended up in fifth. And so that was the first of 4 nights for the Structural Buildings So Late Model Challenge Series for the weekend. Very good start for them on their swing. So we'll move on to our Friday races. Back to the Bismarck gang over at the Dacotah Speedway. What all happened at the Dacotah Speedway, Jessup?
Well, it was a very entertaining night. A lot of running around since John and I had to go to Jamestown the previous night to set up and do audio testing. So I was kind of being pretty active and busy with doing resetup of audio. And on Friday night, we had the Legendary Legends Tour, and we had a pretty good field of cars. It was pretty impressive. John?
Yeah, so Friday night we had actually a really good car count over at the Dacotah Speedway. We had over 110 cars in the pits. So really, really, really nice field of cars. Hobby stock started, basically start with our sport compacts. We had our hobby stocks. I'm gonna start with the hobbies. I'll go to the sport compacts next. In the hobby stock division, that was a really good race up front. We had Derek Appert, who was making his season debut over at the Dacotah Speedway. Dylan Sandberg, who was making his season debut over at the Dacotah Speedway. And then Josh Rourke was right there. A lot of our, front runners over there, because we've got a very healthy field of hobby stock drivers. We had over 20 cars in the pit area on Friday as well. But no, it was an entertaining feature as we had a caution come out before they completed the last lap, and then we reverted back to a lap. And it was kind of entertaining because Dylan and Derek Appert were going at it for the lead. Sandberg and Appert were, and Appert got around Sandberg going down the back straightaway after they took the white flag, but they reverted back to the white flag lap, and Dylan had him by about a half a car. So Dylan Sandberg ended up picking up the win there on Friday night. So very, very good race in your hobby stock division. In your sport compacts, we had double digits. We had 10 sport compacts that were out there on Friday. And Chris Yost held off a hard-charging, always foot to the floor Alex Thompson. And Chris Yost was our feature winner on Friday, and he's had a very, very nice start to his 2024 campaign. We moved then into your legends, and like Jessup said, the Legendary Tour was there, and it was night 3. Night 2, that was on Wednesday. They were over at the Southwest Speedway, and at the Southwest Speedway, it was Donovan Weiss that picked up night 2. Points were extremely tight going into night number 3, and they had an off night on Thursday, but it was a great battle up front. We had 47 Legends check in. Really, really good car count. I mean, it was a great field of cars. And the battle was between Preston Martin, Austin Weist, Noah Madler, Donovan Weist was up there as well, and also Gage Madler. So we had a really, really good battle up front in the feature event. Preston was on a tear like he usually is. However, his tires he almost had like a tire going down slash tire that sealed up after a caution flag. As he wasn't really stretching away from the field a whole lot, and you could tell after the restart because that car turned into a little bit of a handful. And Austin Weiss made a run at him. Austin dipped down low, got to his back bumper. There was a little bit of a little bit of a love tap to say, "Hey, I'm here." On that one too, and Preston held him off. And on the bottom was Noah, and Noah was making up time on the bottom. So Noah got very close right there as well. But yeah, it was Preston Martin, Austin Wiest, and Noah Madler were your top three. Stock cars, Matt Dosh was on a tear. He was on the high side and he was walking away. And Matt ended up picking up his first IMCA stock car feature win. Looked really good in his car. Congratulations to him. I'm going to be very curious to see what Matt can do here over the next couple of weeks because I would love to see him run at least a few stops on the Dakota Classic Modified Tour. I think that would be a really entertaining place for him to be right up and running up there with some of the top runners in the country. But congratulations to Matt on a great win. And then in the modifieds, mods went clean and green. They went 25 laps, green flag racing. They had 23 cars, I believe, that checked in throughout the night, and it was Quentin Kinsley that held off a charging Marlon Seidler. Marlon showed him kind of the bottom as Quentin was running the middle, and Marlon almost got around him. Quentin went into the next turn, actually went to the high side of the track, found the high line. The high line was there pretty much kind of all night at Dacotah Speedway, and found the high line, and he eventually stretched out to almost a 5-second win. So Noah, so not Noah, but Quentin. Quentin had a great run on Friday. You know, I love his paint scheme this year. I think he's got a really, really nice car. And ended up picking up the future win. So yeah, so kind of a mixed bag of kind of winners, some new people in Victory Land that we haven't seen in a while at Dacotah Speedway, and just overall a really nice night of racing.
Yeah, it's always good to see like a different variety of winners. Obviously, like the heavy hitters that are in each class, and they're usually usual suspects at the front. But seeing that new winner, yeah, Matt Dosh winning the stock cars. When I saw that on the results, I'm like, well, good for Matt Dosh because I know has it been a couple years since he last won?
I thought he won
It's
one
been a
last
couple
year.
years. It's been a couple years.
Nice.
Yep. So Matt had won in a couple years. He had that great run going on Oktoberfest before that big crash on the back straightaway. But
That's right.
but besides that, I mean, Matt had a lot of success in the Wissota Street Stock division too. But he looked really good in that stock car on Friday night.
That's good. Yeah, I remember talking to him at testing too, and he was like, "Yeah, these things are way different. It's going to take some time to get used to it." So good to see that he's got a good handle on it now.
Wow,
Awesome. Well, so that was
very
Dacotah
good.
Speedway on Friday night. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Jessup?
No, I thought he won one sooner, but John's right. It's been a few years.
You dare question the Rain Man?
Yes.
You get this.
No, I don't.
That's
I just want you to remember, you already got this.
That's for questioning me.
Yeah, John. So John got a caution for questioning the authority of Jessup, but yet Jessup questioned the authority of the Rain Man. I almost think that almost is worthy of a caution.
Hold on. First off, your rain powers supersede John's rain powers. So you're really the real Rain Man. You and Kayla.
We'll back up. Mason's truly the Rain Man. That brings
Speaking of rain, tell us more, Mason, about your Friday night.
Mason, tell us about your Friday night with some weather in the area.
What a transition.
Yeah, that was pretty smooth.
Let's go to Fiesta City Speedway for their doubleheader. I'll recap both nights at the same time, but Friday and Saturday were kind of two polar opposites of days. So Friday, weather-wise, was beautiful. Like
until
hang on, I'll get there.
Until you showed up at the racetrack.
Be patient. I think they actually did get some rain that morning. I could be wrong on that. So, but the track itself on Friday was very tacky. There was a lot of moisture in that track. So even like for qualifying for like the Structural Buildings Challenge Series was in town along with the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. So 2 touring series on tap along with 3 other classes for support. With the qualifying format for the Challenge Series, you always kind of are curious to see what the track looks like after qualifying. And that track was not losing any speed after qualifying on Friday. So it was it was hammer down for the heat races. And so that was interesting to see for Friday night. Now, Saturday, before I go back to Friday, Saturday was like completely opposite. It was a complete 180. Track was pretty dry, pretty slick. And I think the telltale sign, I was in the pits during qualifying for the late models on Saturday. And I think Cole Searing had just completed his qualifying run. He comes in, puts the car in jack stands, and you see the pan come out underneath the rear end as he was about to do a gear change after qualifying. So I'm like, all righty, this is going to be different than last night. All right, that's a prime indicator of what we're all up for. And so Friday night at Fiesta City kind of kicked off like this as we had the late model street stocks, Midwest mods, pure stocks, and Hornets. Pure stocks, once again, Colton Schuer in the 16A. He's got a very sharp looking car and he's got that thing dialed in. So he cruised to a very comfortable win in the pure stocks in front of Joe Arndt and Landon Albertson. The street stocks were second on tap with a very good field of cars. 32 cars checked in on Friday and Saturday night, both 32 cars strong. That track was super tacky, super fast. Instantly turned into a battle between Mike Jans and Justin Vogel, and those two checked out on the field. It was kind of interesting when we were watching the race. It's like you see the front two go by, they were kind of nose to tail. Then you wait a few seconds, and the next two go by, which was Josh Long and Ty Agan, and then wait a few more seconds, and then the rest of the field. So like the front two had like a half a track lead within like 8 or 9 laps on like 5th place on back. By the time Kyle Anderson cleared, he was a half a track back in 5th place. That's how fast Mike Jans and Justin Vogel were. And so they exchanged lead as they got to lap traffic, with Vogel kind of having the control. They had a caution in the middle of the race and a couple late race restarts because we had a random pop-up shower show up in the middle of the street stock feature.
What a surprise.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, I am just startled and shocked.
I feel so bad for all those drivers and fans that were there. They probably were like, of course, it's Mason in town.
You should have seen the look on my face in the infield when that happened.
Why
I
are
was like,
you even surprised anymore?
I was saying,
no one had any idea that was even remotely possible. Like there was nothing in the forecast as usual.
You probably should have, seen the look on the people in the grandstand / pits and especially drivers' faces when they were like, and where is Mason at right now as they come with pitchforks?
I'm pretty sure when the first couple raindrops started to fall and everyone started noticing, I'm pretty sure all the pits and all the grandstand turned and looked at Mason.
I bet you everybody did.
Some probably did. Although I will give a shout out to a good friend Derek Turner, who drives the 10T with Soda Street Stock. He thought something was wrong with his car. He thought his car was just really tight and it wasn't turning. So he pulled in while underneath one of the caution when it was raining because he wasn't sure. He didn't know it was raining.
Wow, you literally ruined a guy's night.
Yep.
Wow. We're sorry, Derek. You didn't deserve that.
Derek, you deserve better friends.
Yeah.
My bad, Derek.
I can't believe you do that, Mason.
Well,
I can't believe. I mean, we can't even blame Hurricane Kayla.
No, she was nowhere near the racetrack this weekend.
She was in Florida creating chaos down there too.
When did she get back, by the way?
Yesterday, when it actually rained in Fargo.
Yeah, so we're going to take a little split moment there. Hurricane Kayla left North Dakota to go to Florida for a trip. And when she was down there, what did it do?
It rained.
Did it rain in
Florida? It did. It literally rained. We were all in a group snap, and she sent a couple Snapchats of it raining down there. Next thing you know, she comes back. And when she gets back, lo and behold, it rains. First, Mason goes to the racetrack and causes a poor innocent victim of Derek Turner to hold to the infield and end his night. And now Kayla just makes it rain everywhere. These two cannot control their powers.
It was
getting out of hand.
Yeah.
And
But
for that, Mason, you are getting the hold your line and stay away from the track.
yeah, yeah, I don't know what to say to
There's
that.
another week coming around, John. That means hold your line, Mason. Stay away.
I'll do my best. But it was a brief shower. We were able to get going again and finish out the race. I think there was 6 laps to go at that point. And so still a battle. Vogel in control with Jansen second. Coming to take the white. Justin Vogel's pulleys off his or power steering belts broke. So he lost power steering with a lap to go, and that allowed Mike Jans to pass him in turns 1 and 2. And he got to claim his first career Street Stock Tour win. So big congrats out to Mike Jans. Justin Vogel did hang on to finish in second, followed by Ty Agan in third, Kyle Anderson fourth, and Eric Riley was your top 5 finisher. Then moving on to the Wissota late models, another 40-lap affair, which turned into another battle between Cole Searing and Tyler Peterson. Those two exchanged the lead a couple different times throughout the race. And of course, the track with it being fast, they encountered lap traffic very, very quickly. And so had several long green flag stands, a few late cautions. Cole Searing looked like he had it in the bag until coming through turns 3 and 4, his left rear tire blew out, which allowed Tyler Peterson to sneak around and take the win on the first night of the doubleheader at Fiesta City Speedway. Cole did manage to limp across in second, Matt Gilbertson third, Corey Crapster another good run in fourth, and Jeff Massengill was your 5th place finisher. Midwest Mods went to the 11S Adaring Anguser, and the Wissota Hornets went to Brady Albertson in the 16. And so that was Friday night's feature action at Fiesta City. Saturday, similar to Friday night, Colton Schuer once again doubled up on the week or tripled up on the weekend. Another very comfortable win for Colton Schuer in the 16A. Street Stocks this time around, it was Eric Riley holding off a late challenge from Zach Flickinger and Ty Agan to claim his 2nd Street Stock Tour win of the year. He's the first repeat winner on tour this season. Ty Agan got 2nd. Agan was in 3rd. If I can find the results here, there we go. Kyle Dykoff in 4th, and Colton Brower was in 5th. Wissota late models once again, Tyler Pearson and Cole Searing battling up at the front of the pack, and lap traffic once again came into play. The track was kind of taking a little bit of rubber in turns 3 and 4, but 1 and 2 you could pretty much go wherever you wanted, high, low, in the middle. And so kind of a difference of how you maneuver through lap traffic and who could make the pass and time it when. And Tyler Pearson managed to be the one that timed out just right to get his 2nd straight win in front of Cole Searing. Matt Gilbertson to make the same exact podium from Friday night into Saturday night. Ryan Michelson in 4th. And Joel Bennett from Hortonville, Wisconsin was in 5th. Midwest Mods, Derek Reek in the 34J held off a hard-charging Haley Dykoff for the win there. And Jarek Stabler in the 7 from South Dakota won the Wissota Hornets. So that capped off 2 nights over at the Fiesta City Speedway in Montevideo, Minnesota. Great doubleheader for them. And very lot of fans in attendance. The stands were packed both nights. So very cool to see down there. So the other Saturday race that took place, the Jamestown Speedway, which was, I believe, the 5th running of the Don Gumke Racers Memorial. Tell us about how that all went.
Jessup.
Well, there were a lot of cars, Mason.
That's always good.
It was a good night overall. I mean, a lot of racing took place. A lot of good racing action over in general took place. I don't really recall a lot, mainly because sitting behind the camera, I focus on where the battles are, and I really don't care who ends up winning or not. I just find the battle and try to get a good frame on the story of the race, and when the end of the race is coming up, get back to the front and make sure you don't miss anything too exciting.
Easy job as a cameraman, right?
Especially when it's a one camera operation.
Yes, indeed. You don't get to monkey with like switching from like main camera to like a speed shot or a drone shot, which I know you like to do.
I don't mind any of those other shots, but it's very difficult when you're one cameraman, one you are the producer, and you have to constantly be rechecking and checking the different lineups and the formats that you have to put into the lineups just so that it shows all 24 cars or only 10 cars. And in the hobby stocks, I may or may not have forgot to hit um, the loop to cause all the names to pop up until the very last lap, which was a great feature because it went green to checkered. So I didn't get a chance to double check that because you don't really ever get to see it until the first lap is done to make sure that everything's running. But outside of that, yeah, it's very easy to do, Mason. You got to paint a picture of what's going on through a 1.5 or 2 inch by about 3, 4 inch screen.
Oh, yeah. So Jamestown had lots of cars on Saturday night. It was great to see everybody come across. They did their pre-race tribute to all of the drivers that had passed throughout the year, which so on Saturday we honored Don, but we also honored John Carroll Jr., Dave Martinson, and Donovan Moran. So we also honored those past drivers, and it was nice as they did the tribute before we started before we started that night's racing action. So we'll start with the Bombers or Hobby Stock Division first. They had 18 cars total that checked in, and like Jessup said, they went green to checker. That feature took 5 minutes.
Yep.
So it was super good driving to all those drivers in that division because it was a quick feature and there was a lot of hard fought battles from about third on back. Up front though, Asher Williams started in the 8th spot and worked his way to the front. He was in the lead by lap 3 and never looked back. So Asher ended up picking up his second win of the year, and runner up was Travis Ettinger.
I will
So,
say that
but
was a butt whooping,
yeah,
a
he
severe
was.
butt whooping. And it's been a long time since I've seen a person put a beat down on a class like that.
Yeah, Asher got to the front and he was almost a straightaway ahead of the field.
Wow.
So in that feature, so he was gone. So congratulations to Asher. He's had a super good start. He was actually in Mandan on Friday night too. He came over and joined us on Friday, getting some laps before the Merryweather Hobby Stock Challenge that comes here in just a few weeks. In the Slingshots division, it was Jackson Carroll that picked up his third win of the season so far in the Slingshots over there, as he beat Jacob Campbell. But the Campbell brothers put on a show in the heat race. They were side by side throughout that whole heat race, pretty much with the end of it. And Jacob ended up picking up the win in the heat race, and then Jacob got second in the feature event as well. So Wissona Midwest Modified feature was up next, and the track was really good for the Wissona Midwest Modifieds. They had multiple grooves. There was a lot of tack still left in it. And Scott Bintz, the redhead at Rebel, started up front, and he led for a good portion of that feature event. But Brendan Waite was slowly but surely working his way to the front. And Brendan, I still say, has one of the best looking paint schemes out there during the 2024 season. And he passed Scott with only a few laps to go and kind of ran away from the field after that, too. Brendan was definitely one of the best cars in the field on Saturday night in the Midwest Modified. So congratulations to Brendan Waite. He won, and Scott Bintz was your runner-up in that division. In your Legends, it was night 4 of the Legendary Tour, and they had 37 Legends check in on Saturday night. And that battle up front was fierce between several drivers. Noah Madler led off the green flag, but the guy on the move was the guy that started 8th, and that was Bryce Barnhart. Bryce was working his way to the front, and he was right behind Noah, waiting for Noah just to slip up a little bit. And Noah was running a little bit lower than Bryce. Bryce was a little bit higher than Noah. And Noah, you could tell, got a little tight as he went into turns 1 and 2, and Bryce was there. Bryce pounced, made the pass, and held off Noah to pick up that feature win. The most interesting part on Saturday night was because there's a lot of talent, a lot of really good cars in the Legends division, is that your top two in points, it was Preston Martin, your points leader, going into the night for the Legendary Tour, and Gage Madler in second. They both had to run a consi. They both did not transfer out of heat races. They both had to run consis to get into the feature event. And and they did. Preston started deeper in the field. He started 20th on the field and worked his way up to 7th. So he got hard charger for the night in your legends. But yeah, just overall, really good show from the legend drivers. Glad Colton Labor's okay. Colton blew a motor in the middle of that feature event and went up in a fireball. Great job to the Jamestown fire crew because they were right there. He parked on the back straightaway. They got there immediately and put that fire out, and Colton was okay. So, but tough break for that Garfield 850 machine. Street stocks. So street stocks were up next, and that was a really good battle, really good race. It's on DacotahSpeedway.tv, and that's a really fun one to go back and watch because there was a lot of moving and shaking in your Minnesota street stock division. So Spencer Johnson picked up a win, his first one over in Jamestown since the early 2010s. So it's been a long time since Spencer has been in victory lane, and he was super excited down front. Tyler Shrink had a very good car on Saturday night and held off a lot of the hungry hounds behind him, as some people would say, as he went through. And Ryan Mund was right there, Jody Michelson was right there, and Spencer was slowly working his way to the front. But he had some stiff competition to hold off because Cole Gresseth threw a couple runs at him. Cole was there in that really nice looking 19 machine, and then the guy that was coming through the field on the high side was Chris Ritter. Chris started back in 14th. He had an older motor put back in because the motor that he had basically only 3 nights on blew up on him last week on Saturday night, the Saturday before the Gumke. So he had to put his older motor in. He started 14th and worked his way to 2nd. And he poked the nose under Johnson multiple times. Ritter did, to try to get to the lead. And Jody Michelson was right there as well on the back bumper of Ritter and actually to his high side as they crossed the start finish line. So good runs to them. Also have to give a shout out to Anthony Wendell. Wendell started 13 and worked his way up to 4th. So a lot of moving and shaking within your Wissota Street Stock A main event. Really good race. IMC Modifieds. They had a total of 27 drivers check in for the Don Gumke Racers Memorial. And it was Colin Hibden who started on the pole. And we know when Colin Hibden starts on the pole, it's going to be hard to beat him. And it was very hard to beat him. So Colin ended up picking up the win. And it was a battle behind him between Scott Gardner, John Nord, as well as Corey Seekerson was right there. Jared Thielen was right there. Jared looked really good on Saturday night, picked up a heat win and ran top 5 that entire feature event. So great run over there to Jared. And then you had some drivers coming through the field that started really deep in the field that had problems in their heat race. For instance, Tate Johnson started 18th on the field and looked really good during the feature event. Jerry Flippo was there all the way from, he now resides in Iowa. He's originally from Bakersfield, California. And then you also had Dave Shipley, who had problems in his heat race, started almost towards the tail end in a 25th spot and moved his way up to the top 10. He finished 10th. So good job to Shipley on there too. Flippo finished 7th. And Tay Johnson was top 6. So those drivers had a lot of moving and shaking in the feature event. And yeah, it was a great battle to the finish. Scott Gardner and John Nord got together after they crossed the start finish line, the white flag lap, got together and went synchronized spinning within turns 1 and 2 between those two drivers. And it would have been very interesting to see what would have happened without kind of that wreck that happened on the last lap, because Scott was flying. Scott was running a higher line than most everybody else in that mod feature. And he was carrying speed like no other out of the turns compared to all those drivers. And that's where he would catch a lot of people at. So good runs all around, but congratulations to Colin Hibden, who was your feature winner in your modifieds. And then at the end of the night, they saluted Don and the rest of the people with some Boone's Farm. So they had some of that there right behind the draw shack, and overall it was a good night to celebrate Don and his legacy.
I always forget about those added little details of the Racers Memorial Night, those little added touches that really make it special.
Well, and you have to thank all the businesses and everything else. I know Jamestown's Facebook page kind of posted it. There was a lot of extra money / contingency awards that were just donated throughout the whole entire event, especially in the modified division. So great job to everybody involved with that event. And also thank you to all the businesses and supporters that helped out make that event extra special.
Excellent. Glad it was a good night of racing over in Jamestown for the Don Gumke Racers Memorial. So we got one more race on the Track Pack report, and it's a unique one. On Sunday, I ventured down to the Redwood Speedway, the revived Redwood Speedway, for the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour was the main ticket on on hand, and actually turned out to be their season opener as well, as they've had weather issues like everyone else, it seems like, in the region. So that was their first race night for the new group that's running that racetrack. Jessup, I don't know. Well, Jessup might. Oh no, you're not frozen. Have you ever been to the Redwood Speedway before in years past or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay, so obviously this is my first time there, and it's a half-mile track, and it's
Right up your alley.
right up my alley. It's a little flat, not as flat as like Miller, I think. And the corners are pretty tight.
That
And
really
apparently,
helps me, Mason.
yeah, oh yeah, it helps you. You're one of those that's like 12 wheels corner better than 4.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the flatter the racetrack, the better, the less chance of falling and breaking his arm again.
Also a valid point.
We really need to move on.
Anyways, it's
been almost a year. Get over it.
Well,
We're
until
going to
we
have an
cross that
anniversary
1 year
at the racetrack when it
anniversary.
hits 1 year.
Yeah, once it hits 1 year, then we'll let it go.
Until
Anyways.
then when we get close to 2 years, then we'll bring it back up again.
Gonna make a note of that. 1 year and letting go.
Okay.
For Mason, that only
And
applies
John.
to Mason. Oh no, for me, I'm just a loose cannon.
Things that we didn't know for $500. I will say the venue itself is actually pretty cool. I mean, it's located in the middle of the city of Redwood Falls. It's not a big city by any means, but it's cool. Like, obviously, like there's a highway just on the back stretch, and pretty open in the middle. Like there's nothing really hindering the view. There's like a couple like mounds of like dirt that you can kind of stand and watch on, which is actually where I watched a couple of the features at. And it's actually really cool venue. Apparently the track has been shortened to a half mile what it currently is. Apparently it was longer before that. So I'm like, wow, that would be a really interesting size track to see years ago when it was even bigger. But so obviously with a new group coming in and taking over, it's going to be kind of like a little uncertainty, like, what's it going to be like? And of course, with it being the first race, they've had a test and tune on the track itself, but this is like the first race action. So it's like, all right, what are we going to get here as far as like track conditions, format, whatever it may be? Let's just say the first half of the night was a little bit of a struggle. It was really warm and windy, which is both ingredients to have like very tough track conditions. And so heat races were really tough. It was pretty dusty. They were trying to keep up with it, watering in between heat races. They were giving hot laps for the drivers before each heat race, so that way they could get acclimated, so that way everyone knew what they were going against. And so, but I think the things that helped them the most for intermission was by that time the sun was going down and the wind had died down. So as they were watering throughout the night, that moisture was starting to sit more and more on the track, and the moisture that was in the ground was starting to come up. So feature time turned into a really good set of features. And so that was really good to see, like the hard work kind of pay off, and they were able to get some good racing action towards the latter part of the night. And so the classes they had on hand, it was full body nights. So it was IMCA stock cars, IMCA hobby stocks, IMCA sport compacts, and Wasota street stocks. So different than probably your normal set of classes that you would see. If you're a new fan, you might have been confused just because a lot of those look very similar, but they were treated to a very good set of feature racing action. So stock cars kicked it off, which recognized a few of the names in the stock car field. A lot of them frequent the Dakota Classic Modified Tour over the last several years. And a winner that we know, Matt Speckman from Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, dominated the stock cars. So that wasn't a complete shock to me. He finished in front of Ryan Bierkasset and Jim Horsch, who is a very accomplished stock car racer, as well as Ryan Bierkasset. You recognize names like Daniel Ekblad, Dan McIntoon, Kurt Lund, just a lot of names that we recognize up here in North Dakota down there. IMCA Hobby Stocks, they had a good solid field of them, 20 cars on hand. Austin Jans got the win in front of Corey Probst and Tate Harrison. Very good race. They were beating and banging almost the last couple laps, and so that was a fun race to watch. IMCA Sport Compacts went to the 07 of Andrew Malinowski, and he is from Brainerd, Minnesota. He made a late race pass on Jason Bolte to get that win, so long trip worth it for him. And the Minnesota Street Stocks had 18 on hand for the Dirt Race Central Street Stock Tour. We had Joe Martin and Kyle Anderson starting on the front row. Joe Martin, who's pretty green in the class, but the first few laps looked really solid out there. Definitely the line was around the top of the track. And so Kyle Dykhoff managed to make the pass on him a few laps in, running the bottom, and then moved up to the top. And as the race progressed, you could definitely tell like who knew where the fast line was, because Kyle was running the high side in 1 and 2, but bottom in 3 and 4. While the Browers, who were tracking him down, were running the top all the way around the track. So after a mid-race caution, about 3 laps to go, Braden Brower made the race-winning pass on the high side of 3 and 4 around Kyle Dykhoff. And so Braden Brower got his second career Street Stock Tour win. Dykhoff hung on to second in front of Colton Brower, Ty Egan in fourth, and Justin Vogel was your 5th place finisher. So overall, really good, solid opening night for the Redwood Speedway. They had a great crowd on hand, good field of cars. I think it was really encouraging to see like the potential that they have. And of course, as they get more races under the belt, that'll just continue to improve as the season goes on. So great to see another racetrack revived and open for racing once again. And so that is our track pack report for this week. And we will move on into what is upcoming next for this week in dirt track racing, starting with Mr. Dakota Dirt.
Oh my gosh, race fans, but you have to check out Dakota Dirt again. It's your one-stop shop for everything North Dakota racing news, results, weather forecasts, and much more. Remember, they are on social media, Dakota Dirt on Facebook, as well as dakotadirt.org. Check them out today.
Thank you, John. It's going to be another really busy week of racing here as the Jamestown Speedway will kick the week off technically today, as we are in early morning hours of Wednesday morning. June 12th, Jamestown Speedway is going to have their fair race. Then on June 13th, the Tri-County Speedway will be racing. Then on June 14th, there are quite a few tracks going off and racing as the Dacotah Speedway, the Red River Valley, and the River Cities, along with McLean County, will all be racing. The Dacotah Speedway will be letting the IMCA stock cars have the night off so they can go participate up at the McLean County Speedway, as it is their doubleheader fair weekend. And then that means on the 15th, Saturday, McLean County will be racing as well. Night 2 of their fair races, along with the Devil's Lake Speedway. And Jamestown will have that Saturday off, so kind of a open weekend there. And then finally, the 16th is Nodak Speedway as the points battles heat up in the shortened regular season points for them.
Yeah, they only have a few weeks left of that.
Yep. So that's what it's looking like for this week.
Alrighty, a lot of racing on tap in North Dakota. Outside of the state, it's also pretty busy too. Thursday, we got KRA Speedway running once again. Norman County Raceway is having a meet and greet night on the 13th. And I believe Cedar Lake Speedway has the USMTS for 3 straight nights. Is this the Masters?
Yes,
It is the Masters.
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, Masters weekend.
Yep, so Masters weekend, so 3 straight nights at the USMTS over at Cedar Lake, one of their big shows. They have a lot of big shows coming up over the next several weeks. Moving on to the 14th, on Friday, Brown County Speedway back in action, Fiesta City Speedway back in action. I-94 has the Rebel Mod Tour for the Midwest Mods taking place there. And Princeton Speedway has sprint cars. I believe the UMSS series is there on Friday night in Princeton. Saturday, Madison Speedway is back in action along with the Miller Central Speedway. North Central Speedway in Brainerd is also running. And the Ogilvie Raceway, Rice Lake, Victory Lane Speedway, I believe, has their first race of the year in Canada. And Viking Speedway has the Rebel Mod Tour. Sunday the 16th, Bemidji Speedway has their Babes Border Battle, which I got to look up real quick as that is a unique race on Sunday for Bemidji Speedway. Also running is Casino Speedway, the Granite City Motor Park, and Redwood Speedway. Now, Granite City Motor Park also has the USMTS on Sunday, and the Fastlane Super Stock Series is also doing another swing. Grand Rapids Thursday, Gondikwa and Superior on Friday, Ogilvie on Saturday, and on Sunday at Granite City. So you get the Fastlane Superstock Series and the USMTS on the same night at Granite City Motor Park. So that's going to be an interesting night to see like who all shows up. That could be a very entertaining race night for those folks down in Granite City. So as I look up Bemidji Speedway, I believe that is all of the racing that is on tap outside of the state of North Dakota. So with that, we will display the white flag and get into our wins of the week and give a shout out to the real deal B1 Brody Carlsrud in the IMCA stock car, who got his first feature win of the season at North Central Speedway this last Saturday. So congratulations, Brody, on the first win of the year. Hope there's more to come for you over the course of the summer. Be sure to go check out his podcast, The Real Deal with B1. I'm sure he's very excited to get a podcast, talk about his win in Brainerd, and give him some support on Facebook as well. Thank you so much, Brody, for supporting us on the Track Packers this season. So we have wins of the week, which even though Becca's not here, she did submit a few wins of the week. So I will list those off before we get into our wins of the week. Her first win of the week goes to the Legend family. Now, you guys might have to help me out a little bit with this, but I believe Evan Hendrickson got involved in a wreck in Jamestown. Or
Mandan.
I think it was in the heat race.
Correct.
So,
not even before it was right on the front straightaway.
Okay, so very early on. So he had a lot of torn up stuff on his car, and they all kind of banded together to help him get his car back in running order. So that way he was able to go back out for the B main and believe made it out there. And did he transfer?
He did. Yep, he transferred and then got hard charger in the feature.
Perfect. So well worth it to get Evan Hendrickson back out there. He's a really tough competitor in the Legends, and so great to see the Legend family working together and help him thrash on the car and get him back out there so he could compete the rest of the night. Her second win of the week goes to Spencer Johnson for returning back to victory lane in the Wissota Street Stocks. As John had mentioned in the Track Pack report, been several years since he last visited victory lane. He's been close a lot over the last couple, so good to see him back in victory lane. And then her third win of the week went to Rob Van Mill for sweeping the weekend in the IMCA stock cars at Norman County Raceway, Red River Valley Speedway, and the Cheyenne Speedway in Lisbon. So getting all set up for the Dakota Classic Modified Tour to try to defend his title there, which that's coming up in just about a month's time. So with those wins out of the way, who wants to go next for wins of the week? Jessup, go ahead.
I got like 8.
We'll pick 3.
Pick 3.
All right. Well, let's go with Gabe Deshaw with my first one, as he picked up 4 wins over the week on the Tougher Than Dirt Tour and the Sport Mods. So along with winning the Tougher Than Dirt Tour Sport Mod portion of it, the points, very, very successful weekend for him. Let's take it. We could say my Dacotah Speedway winners would be Matt Dosh and Quentin Kinsley, both picking up some nice wins there. And man, there's a lot here to choose, but I'll go with Bryce Barnhart with a very nice win over at Jamestown in the NX Legends. And a bunch of guys who haven't had a lot of they've had success, but not reaching that brass ring, and now they finally reached it there, and they're all doing really good. So tip of the hat to those guys. Good job. Keep up the good work. And yeah.
Good solid set of wins there. John,
Mason,
go
you
ahead.
go next.
Okay,
I
fine.
will go last.
Fine. All right. Well, I got 3 more wins here. I got first one goes out to Zach Flickinger, number 15F Wissota Street Stock. Very solid weekend. Runner up at KRA on Thursday. Finished 7th on Friday at Fiesta City Speedway, moving up 10 spots from 17th, so not an easy feat to do. And then 3rd place finish on Saturday to finish out the weekend. So very solid weekend for Zach Flickinger. My second win of the week goes to Wissota Hornet driver Cole Campson of Bruton, Minnesota. Because on Saturday, he pulled off a very cool feat. He finished 2nd at the Viking Speedway, and made it down for feature time at Fiesta City Speedway, started at the back and got second there. So finishing runner-up in 2 different spots on the same night. When I saw his car on the track, I'm like, wait a second, what? Like, because Viking Speedway runs a pretty quick show, and it's not overly far to get from Alexandria down to Monty. And so, being that the Hornets were the last race of the night in Monty, worked out perfect that he made it just in time. So, 2 for 2 on second place finishes for Cole Campson, not bad. And then my third win of the week goes to Lucas Rodin Racing. So for the month of May, they did a fundraiser in regards to Brain Cancer Awareness Month. They were able to raise $4,561 and able to donate that to the Jamestown Regional Medical Center. A lot of their race winnings and donations from fans and whoever stopped by their pits throughout the month of May went into that. And so very cool initiative that the race team put together, and very cool cause. And so I want to give a shout out to Lucas Rodin, Brittany, and the entire racing team on a job well done there. Go ahead, John, finish it off.
Yeah, so I've got 3 great wins of the week too. I obviously have to, give one out to Brody Carlsrud too. He's had a very, very tough start to his season. Just some bad luck, but Brody broke through into victory lane. So Brody, congratulations on the first win of the season as well. And his B1 machine, that was really cool. And also check out his podcast. My second win of the week has to go to Colin Hibden. Colin ended up picking up the Bison Battle win over at the Red River Valley Speedway, then picked up the Gumke Memorial win over in Jamestown, and was third over at Cheyenne to conclude the Bison Battle over the weekend. So Colin had a very nice weekend. He is actually headed over to 141 Speedway this week, as they've got the big show over there for the twin $10,000 to win shows over there at 141.
What's it called, John?
The Clash at the Creek.
Good job, John. Good job.
And he thought he was going to stump Rain Man.
I wasn't sure you would have named the race.
So, Jessup, there's so much knowledge up here you don't even know.
Okay, knowledge man. What is the go-to concession stand food that 141 is known for?
Go ahead, Mason.
Isn't it a steak sandwich?
It is.
It is.
Don't act like you know it. You had to go to Mason.
You told me to get a steak sandwich at Boone when I was down there, and they're like, we don't, that's only during the Super Nationals. I'm like, well, what the heck? Jessup set me up for all of this, and I get disappointed in more ways than one, but that's another
story. Both are really good sandwiches.
He just set you up for failure, Mason. I am so disappointed in him.
Just ask Jerry. He knows.
So.
What? He does. He announced at both of the tracks. So.
Oh, I know. So, okay. My third one of the week. It has to go over to, it's going down to Casino Speedway. And Scott Ward picked up the Challenge Series win on Sunday. He was emotional in victory lane. And that was a very, very, very cool sight to see for Scott Ward on Sunday over Casino. So congratulations to Scott over there as well.
Did you see the finish, though?
Yeah.
Bravo almost got him at the end.
Yes, Provenzino almost got him at the end as they passed Tyler Peterson, which you don't see Tyler Peterson get passed very often.
At Casino, of all places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
so
Jeff had a kind of a rough weekend. He lost a drive shaft, I think, in qualifying at KRA, and I think he lost another one in either the heat or the A main the same night. So he had a rough start to that weekend. So it was nice to see him on a good note too. Yeah.
So those are my 3 of the week.
Excellent. Well, does anyone have any closing thoughts before we sign off? I did want to mention Greenbush Race Park. Is got under new ownership. Ronnie Novacek purchased that, and I believe Trapper, who was the former promoter, is going to help promote once again. And so they actually just released their schedule earlier this evening. They're going to start racing every Saturday starting on the 29th of June. So that's really cool to see Greenbush back up and running. It hasn't been a long stint away, but I know a lot of people are very happy to see that track is back running once again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome to see.
Absolutely.
Only thing I would add, Mason, is hats off to all the drivers who raced in the Tougher Than Dirt Tour, the legendary Legends Tour, and made it to every show of the weekend and the week. That's not an easy feat to do. I know we kind of take it for granted with the mod tour just a little bit, but anybody to race that many nights in a row, that's a beating on the body, the mind, the emotional aspect of racing, and also on the car and the pocketbook as well. But hats off to all those guys and gals who made the tours what they were.
Agreed.
Yep, and shout out to the champions, Gabe Deschamps in the sport mods, Morgan Olmsted, I believe is from Nebraska.
Yep.
In the hobby stocks, and then Preston Martin in the Legends. So,
yep,
very good runs to all those drivers this week. With that, that'll do it for episode 13 of season 3, a jam-packed episode for all you race fans and listeners out there. Be sure to like, share, and follow on the Track Packers Facebook page and also on our various listening platforms, including Spotify, Google, and Apple. Be sure to give us a 5-star review. Thank you to our sponsors, Hitch Harness, The Real Deal with B1, and Hot Sauce Issac Sondrol. We have a lot of racing taking place this weekend, so at some point, we will see you out there packing the track.